Good evening, everyone, and welcome to District 8's Virtual Roundtable Discussion, where we will be discussing promoting anti-hate and discrimination awareness. Thank you for joining us. With us tonight, we are also very honored and privileged to have the following panelists with us. We have Farrah Mozawalla. She's the Executive Director of Nassau County Asian American Affairs. We have Dr. Jeong-eun. She is the professor at the College of Education, Information, and Technology at the LIU Post. We have Officer Thomas Joy. He is an officer for the Suffolk County Police Department and also a member of the Suffolk County Asian Advisory Board. We also have Sabrina Guo. She is the founder of LILAC, Long Island Laboring Against COVID-19, and also the founder of Girl Pride International. Additionally, we have Dr. Gordon Zhang. He is the president and founder of Long Island Chinese American Association and board director for the Asian American Coalition of Education. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We are very appreciative for your time that you have taken out to be part of this discussion. At this moment, I would like to introduce Senator John E. Brooks. Thank you so much, Senator, for making this webinar and this platform possible. We would like to hear from you some opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie, and thank you everyone who's with us tonight. I think, we're very blessed, all of us. We live in probably the most diverse country in the world. Our ancestors came to this country many different ways and from many different places. As Neil Diamond once said, on ships and boats and planes are coming to America. My ancestors actually came to America before there was a United States of America. They came in the 1600s. But everybody came here for the opportunity. Hate is an emotion that we have that is useless. It serves no purpose. For anyone to have the ability to hate someone because of where they came from, the color of their skin, their religious beliefs, it serves no purpose. We came because we saw an opportunity. That opportunity is still there. And tonight, what we're going to be doing through these discussions is an opportunity to end some of that hate.
Thank you, Senator Brooks. At this moment, I would like to kick it off to Lucia, and she will be taking us through the program. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Melody, and thank you, Senator Brooks. Everyone, welcome. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce to you our extraordinary special guest speakers this evening.
So I would like to introduce Sabrina Guo. She's a student at Syosset High School in the North Shore of Long Island. She is also an award-winning writer, poet, social activist, and a young humanitarian. She is the recipient of the Civic Expression Award and an 8-time national medalist from the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. I want to be like her when I grow up. She is the founder of Girl Pride International, a global nonprofit that serves socioeconomically disadvantaged, refugee, and migrant girls' educational and emotional needs. She is also the founder of Long Island Laboring Against COVID-19, or LILAC, relief organization dedicated to providing PPE, meals, and emotional support to high-risk, underdeserved communities in Long Island and beyond. Thank you for being with us tonight, Sabrina. Although you are very young, so accomplished, and surely an inspiration to many. Please, if you take a moment to say hello and share opening remarks.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Senator Brooks, for this important roundtable and the invitation. I'm extremely humbled and honored to be a part of this discussion. And I'm looking forward to listening and learning from Senator Brooks and this panel of community leaders, and to make my voice heard and be part of the solution. First, I'd actually like to show this cover of the New Yorker magazine. And this was published recently. I'm sure many of you have seen this already. Everyone can see the grave concern and fear on the young girl and the mother's faces. And the pressing question really is, what can we do about it? How can we work together to fight this surging hate and violence against the Asian American Pacific Islander community. And I mean, there's systemic racism and bigotry against all minority groups in America. And therefore, that's why people of all colors, and that also means all of us who are condemning hate crimes and discrimination and the atrocities of hate, need to form alliances to support and empower each other. So I'm looking forward to seeing today's discussion translate into meaningful actions, proposals, and I hope that there will be bills or legislations that will facilitate and streamline the hate incident and hate crime reporting process, and that local and state governments can fight for the provision of funding to community organizations and social service groups to address and remediate these stubborn and increasingly terrifying urgent problems that affect all of us. And so with that, I'm ready to learn today and make a difference. Thank you again to the Office of Senator Brooks.
Thank you so much, Sabrina, for your wisdom and for your encouraging words to all of us. It is a time for action indeed. Thank you. We know that since the start of the pandemic, the number of attacks and hate crimes against the Asian American Pacific Islanders community have increased. But we also know that everyone has a role in stopping hate and creating safe, inclusive communities. So my question to you is, what everyday actions can community members take to help combat hate? Sabrina?
Yes, I think that this conversation right here, right now, it's the first of many steps to push for change. I think that community members can reach out and listen to others who don't look like us. I mean, look at our panel today. I mean, we're the epitome of diversity. I think that's simply amazing. To learn and understand each other, especially during such tough times like a pandemic, when we need each other's support more than ever. We can educate ourselves, reach out to those who are vulnerable in our communities and neighborhoods who may not look like us, and also making connections and building bridges of understanding and trust. That's a key part of addressing complex and stubborn issues like discrimination and hate. I think that empathy, compassion, and generosity can go a long way when we are willing to open ourselves up to listen to each other and respect each other's differences. Of course, acceptance and tolerance takes patience and willpower, and history has taught us that conflict resolution is an arduous process that needs to be cultivated over time. So I think that especially for the youth who are watching, if you have time on your hand, volunteer for community organizations and local social service groups that serve to bring people together to heal, or be an interpreter for a social service organization that needs bilingual skills to help victims to report a hate incident or crime, participate in events like town halls and community events that inform us and provide resources and know-hows. And especially when we see something, don't be an innocent bystander, report it to the proper authorities to keep us all safe. And truly, there's nothing too small to make an impact.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. Very eloquent and very wise again. Communication is key with each other and on behalf of others as well. What are your thoughts on the recent framework proposed by the Board of Regents this past Monday to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in New York schools? And I just would like also to get, what will be your take on this, Sabrina, as a student, from your point of view as a student? What are your thoughts about this initiative and this priority of the Board of Regents in advancing a framework that speaks to diversity, inclusion, and equity in schools?
I mean, I think that they are so important, and I'm glad to see that they're happening. And I hope that federal, state, and local government and agencies can continue to work more closely with each other and with local community organizations and social service groups. to address these hate incidents and crimes committed against the API community. And of course, hearings and roundtables like this are very beneficial to get members of our community engaged, to actually make voices and concerns matter and be tabled at a local level. And I recall that Congresswoman Grace Leung has pushed hard to get bipartisan support for the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act. And this bill combats the ongoing anti-Asian racism and violence and really all types of hate related to coronavirus. And I hope that other legislators at the local, state, and federal level will push for similar legislations to protect those who are the most vulnerable, like the elders, women, and children who are sought out by hate crime perpetrators, and to encourage and empower victims to speak out and speak up instead of staying quiet, because sharing the experience, while painful, most certainly, does make a positive difference in the long run in helping others to learn how to fight back. I also learned that earlier this month, New York State has set aside a budget of about $10 million for community and social service organizations to fight anti-Asian hate crimes and violence. And I think all of these combined are encouraging steps, and no doubt that these actions are a result of the unprecedented, massive, and unified efforts of many, many people who are coming out to fight for equality and justice.
Thank you so much, Sabrina, and very true. Speaking up and speaking out changes, minds, changes hearts, and it also changes policies. So very important. And with that, I'd like to go to one more question before we open for the question and answer section. And this is for everyone. What is one thing you would like the non-Asian community to understand about the AAPI community? Something, a myth perhaps, or something that can help us understand the Asian community better. And Sabrina, if you'd like to share with us.
Yes, thank you. I think that this hate is not just an issue for the AAPI communities and POC communities, and it's not even just an American issue. It's a human issue. And I think that we all need to come together as a united front to combat this hate and aggression that has been going on for years and years. But I'd also like to just briefly mention some of the work that our organizations have been doing, because I think that it'll raise awareness and inspire many others, especially youth who are watching today, to get more involved in communities and what they can do. So as the founders of Long Island Laboring Against COVID-19, or LILAC, and Girl Pride International, we take pride in organizing initiatives that bring people together, become more informed, make connections, and build understanding and solidarity. And awareness doesn't just stop with being a part of meaningful conversations, or publishing our views in the paper or online, or making a statement on TV and calling for change. We need to do more to back up our words and rhetoric with actions that affect legislations, for example, that can lead to measurable and positive change for people's lives. Like, for example, LILAC is multidisciplinary, but we are very proud of our work in using our creative talents in art, music, dance, and video making skills to, for example, support the Black Lives Matter movement, to call for racial and social equality and justice by creating 60 Black Lives Matter inspired artworks with calligraphies, some of which are displayed in Nassau County Legislative Hall now. And these over 200 thoughtful and uplifting artwork that's donated to frontline essential workers all over hospitals, nursing homes, etc., just shows what our community can do together in a time like this. And I think that also goes to show the extent to which we can combat hate if we all come together. I just think that it's also very important, speaking from a teenager's point of view, to have more dialogues with school teachers and administrators to include discussions of racially motivated microaggression issues in and out of the classroom, as it's not just about Asian students, but all students. And we've all heard about the spike in school bullying and microaggression that's related to anti-Asian biases and discrimination. So it's even more so important to be proactive and not just reactive. But I think that before, I'm sure many people agree with this sentiment, that before I call myself an Asian American, I am an American. And to paraphrase Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., nobody should judge others by the color of their skin, but by the content of our character. And I think that's really the beauty and grace of humanity, and that is what we need to combat racism. And personally, I actually did experience discrimination even when I was donating PPEs. Like when I was at this COVID hospital during the holiday season, a passerby couple made an obscene and very crude gesture towards me when I was being filmed by a TV crew when donating PPEs. And they also said something that was inaudible to me, but the reporter and videographer were outraged. And I was just shocked and saddened by that instant. But of course, that does not stop me or any LILAC members from continuing to do our work. And I think that's important, that persistence and that determination, because that's what we need to do. That's right, what the right thing to do is, and we stay the course.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. Thank you for bringing so much understanding, awareness, and contribution, to all Long Island, and speaking from your student point of view.
I think this question is very interesting, with the initial answer coming from the perspective of a high school student. So I would love to get Sabrina's take on this, and then I'll pass it off to you folks. So Sabrina, other than increasing the number of people of color educators on Long Island, what kind of changes in curriculum would you recommend to principals in our public high schools to broaden the knowledge of students beyond the Euro-American experience?
Right, that's a great question. Well, as a sophomore at high school, I think that there are certain acts or historical events that are not went into depth extensively, and I think that in part is due to the way things are set up in the U.S. and the fact that we have our own national pride. But I think that gets in the way of fully understanding the human part of history and how it has negatively affected minorities, etc. And I think there should be more changes for that. I'd also like to just slightly pivot. I also saw that question in chat about how youth can actually take initiative to combat this. And I think that the youth should reach out to administrators, teachers, and like emails. Don't be afraid to speak out and voice your concern, because as the youth, we have our own civic duty to pave the way for future generations. And in order to do that, we cannot be afraid to speak up. And I think, of course, use your own creative talents. There's many methods of reaching out and making change. Like, for example, in LILAC, we have very skilled editors and artists who've made documentaries, thanking our teachers and sanitation workers who have worked tirelessly to keep us safe and engaged. So that just goes to show how many different creative methods there are to make change. It's not just about speaking up, but with art, there are so many forms. Yeah.
Thank you, Sabrina, for a very interesting and nuanced response. And I think I can speak for many people on this webinar when I say I am looking forward to voting for you someday. We have some more questions from your colleague from LILAC. We'll get to that in a little bit, but right now I'd like to ask Dr. Rhee what your response to that question would be as an academic.
I'm also voting for her, so count me in. And I mean, I also have to say that, like, young people always inspires me and kind of really sustains me in terms of like the work that I do, because you are the really, hope and the change agents that I can totally depend on. And in that regard, I think students' initiatives definitely matter in curriculum changes. Oftentimes, curriculum change comes from top down, but I think schools should be actually open for really considering what students want to learn as a part of the curriculum decision.
We just got a question. Sabrina, apparently your guidance counselor is on the line. And she actually has a very good question. What kind of thoughts, and I put this out to the whole panel as well, on how to raise awareness of these issues among faculty?
Right. Well, I think change starts with education in and out of the classroom from our teachers, parents, and community leaders. And I think that, first of all, for students, I know firsthand, some of my friends are not very outspoken and afraid of using their voice to make change even when they want to. So I think it's important to encourage uncomfortable conversations starting young, frankly, like even in elementary school. They can be very basic. And as a writer myself, I actually see a lot of books that are read to children which have blatant microaggression in them and stereotypes. And I think these things need to be brought into light, especially for kids who are growing up in this environment that we're in right now. And as for our school pride, I just think that it's with faculty, I think it's very important to engage in conversations with teachers and counselors and administrators to advocate for change. And I know that it can be a very hard thing to do, especially for the first step. But I think that once you take that first step, everything really just follows. And I think that's how I feel from personal experience. And I think that even in day-to-day discussions, let's say in like history class in school, voicing your opinion on certain events from history is, say, a minor step forward in ultimately reaching out to administrators and teachers to actually advocate for change throughout your school district.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm gonna just add on top of that, because this is a related question, and I am going to throw this out to the whole panel if anyone has some response. How can we combat hate speech and misinformation surrounding race and ethnicity online and on social media? Sabrina, I'm going to have to start with you because my sense is you have the best experience with, the best capabilities with social media these days.
Yeah, sorry, could you please repeat the question? You broke up a little bit for me on my end.
Sure. How can we combat hate speech and misinformation surrounding race and ethnicity online and on social media?
Right. I think social media, first of all, it's a very powerful tool, but it's a tool that can also be misused, and a platform in which there can be fake news, etc. So in terms of combating hate on social media, I think that it's important to first engage in conversations like in comment sections where you see something, for example, microaggression that stands out to you. Don't be afraid to reply and have an intellectual and educated discussion on what is wrong about the behavior. And it's really criticism that should be taken. It doesn't have to be violent, but I think that especially in the world we are in right now, there needs to be more educated conversations like this in order to combat hate. I think that I know social media can be a very exposing platform, but I think that exposure is something that we really need in order to bring to light this situation that we're in.
All right, thank you very much. We are running towards our time limit here, so again, I would just like to thank everybody here for just really some amazing perspectives and points of view. And right now I'm going to turn the microphone, so to speak, back over to Senator John Brooks.
To all of our speakers, thank you very much. We still have a road to go down with hatred across the nation. But to me, hatred comes from ignorance, not understanding people. And, you know, like Officer Joy's son did, take pride in what you bring to this country and what you've accomplished in this country, because all those stars on the flag represent people that came from all parts of the world to be part of this melting pot that really provides much better opportunities than most any place else in the world. So I thank you all very much, and I thank my staff for once again all that they put into these programs, and they do it because they believe in what they're doing, and they take great pride in what they do. So I thank them all very, very much. Thank you all, and may you all be safe. Thank you.